The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
What's up, fight fans, and welcome into another edition of UFC Best Bets. We were in Abu Dhabi, halfway around the world last weekend, but this weekend we are back in Las Vegas at the familiar confines of UFC Apex for UFC Fight Night, a featherweight main event between Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. Really fun 5-round main event. We're going to have fun talking about it with Ian Parker, our gambling extraordinaire. He tells us how to put money in our wallets every Saturday at the UFC fights. And he has been on a heater. You know, if we get cold and we start losing, we do not shy away from it. We talk about our losses on this show, but we ain't got any losses to talk about, Ian. I mean, all you're doing is winning these days. On the prelims, on the best bets, everything you touch is gold right now, and I'm loving every minute of it. I think our fans are as well. Take a minute to brag about yourself, man.
Oh, no, don't stop. You're doing just fine. You know, but look, this is the type of thing that happens in sports betting sometimes. You try to find the value, trying to find the spots. What I'm more happy about is with our breakdowns, our predictions, literally things were happening to the T. With Islam Makhachev, we literally said if he drops him, he'll go to side mounts, and he got it done. Main event, we hit. Yad O'Malley went the distance. That was a real fun fight. This is why you don't pick a side sometimes. People disagree with the decision. Didn't matter to us who won. The distance, it went. Murdov and Chao Barajo, listen, over 1.5. That was an easy one. Krylov made us look like geniuses. And Muhammad Mokaev, let me talk about this guy for just 1 second. This looked like we were going to lose our biggest favorite out the gate, but he obviously understands betting. He got that arm bar with not too much time left, and he got us that win. 5-0 in best bets. I want to keep it going. I like this undefeated streak. Now, the prelims, this was pretty wild. We hit Rosa by decision on the nose. Again, Muhammad Mokaev inside the distance. Petrosian, Nurmagomedov, you know, Krylov, the list goes on. And then the last one, we hit an underdog in Bilal Muhammad. I sat here and I said to you, put emotion, friendship, bias to the side. If he keeps this fight standing, he's the better striker. Brady's striking did not look great against Chiesa. And Khabib's coaching in camp must have done wonders. Bilal looked like a different animal in there. He looked like a true bully. Remember the name. Bilal's going to do something in the future, and he called out Chimaev. I'd love to see that fight.
I love it, man. And you said the key word there, because some people are going to look at those graphics and they're going to say, man, this was a lot of chalk. Like, are you just picking favorites and favorites are winning? No, it's you don't force underdogs when they're not there, and you look for the value even on the favorites. And so you were taking some of the favorites, but you were saying, hey, this should be higher. This line should be higher. This is how I see this fight going. And a lot of those fights went perfectly according to what you saw. So great work at UFC 280. And like I said, I know our audience is loving it. We love to have fun on the show. We love to interact with our fans. And again, this is such an interactive show because we hope you are taking action. We hope you're actually making some profit off of these shows. We had Chris V telling you, no, I had to parlay these two. LFG UFC GOAT got me a bag this week. Salute the Duck. Salute the Duck. And salute the Coach Rules as well. Our buddy Coach used to work over here at ESPN, talks to us about the fights and the gambling as well. And then a fan of combat, you have to be the best in the business. No one like you. Keep up the great work. I would agree, Ian. Nobody like you. Best in the business. We're happy to have you. And again, great card at UFC 280. So let's keep the train moving here. UFC Fight Night this Saturday. And it's flying a little under the radar. It shouldn't. This is a absolute fire main event between Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. Such an important fight at 145 pounds. You know Volkanovski, he wants to move up to 155, but he's also looking for new blood, fresh opponents at 145. He's not giving up that belt anytime soon. The winner of this fight could be next in line for that. You got Tim Means, Max Griffin in a welterweight co-main event. And a couple other fights there to talk about. We will talk about all of these fights on the main card, but we are going to start with Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. And there are a few things that I want to ask you specifically about this fight, Ian, but I'm going to start off just sort of opening the floor to you. Like I said, this is a very, very exciting fight. I think I'm excited to watch it, but from a gambling perspective, what are you looking at? What's sticking out to you?
What sticks out to me is the level of competition, the experience that someone like Calvin Kattar has over Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen hasn't been in the UFC all that long. You know, in the competition he's fought, not too many finishes, a lot of decisions. And then this last fight, he came out of the gate and he finished Dan Hooker pretty quickly, which a lot of people, really they value there. We were on Arnold Allen in that fight. We felt that the matchup made sense at that weight. The question for me is here, how does that compare to the body of work of Calvin Kattar? How do these two match up against each other? Arnold Allen usually uses his striking to control on the ground with his wrestling. Is he going to be able to do that to Kattar? I don't know if this is something that Kattar hasn't seen before. My answer to that would be no, which surprises me why Arnold Allen is the favorite. Calvin Kattar, his last fight, Josh Emmett, could have gone either way. I scored it for Calvin Kattar. The fight before that against Giga Chikadze, right on point with the highlight. He surprised everyone. He won, especially after coming off of that ridiculously one-sided beating over Max Holloway. This is someone who has taken a lot of damage, but still shows durability. He shows advancement, improvement in his game. He showed the wrestling against Giga. He showed the high IQ. He is a great striker, great team behind him. I am shocked he is the underdog here. But hey, this is going to be a fun fight no matter how it goes.
Shocked he is the underdog. Well, hey, he actually did not start off that way. When this line opened, Calvin Kattar was actually the betting favorite. You could get him small favorite, minus 115. Arnold Allen coming back at 105. But that line did not last very long. You see, actually, on October 24th, got all the way up to minus 125 for Arnold Allen. So a lot of action coming in on Arnold Allen's side. Here's why I think that may be the case. You talk about experience, and you just ask yourself, and you kind of alluded to this, Ian, is that an advantage for Calvin Kattar, or is it a disadvantage? His last 4 fights have been 5-round main events. All 4 of those have gone the distance. This is his 3rd fight in 2022, and that can be taxing. That can just be tough. I mean, to go through camps for 5-round fights and then to actually have 5-round fights and take damage in those fights. You're coming against a guy in Arnold Allen who was a minus 120 favorite against Dan Hooker going down to 145 pounds. That looks like a gift now. That fight was over very, very quickly. How do you... I like the fact that Calvin Kattar has been here and he has that experience against high-level guys, really, really top guys in the division. But I also wonder if when does that become a disadvantage? When do you start running out of gas? When does that wear and tear start to work against you rather than for you, Ian?
It's a great question. I guess the best answer I can give you is when it truly shows in his game that it's impacting him, because so far, I don't think it has. The point you brought up is what I was concerned about going from Holloway to fighting a sniper in Giga Chikadze. But look what he did. He won in the striking. The wrestling was there. He's the one who put the damage and put the beating on his opponent, not the other way around, when all of us, including myself, thought that might have been a career-ending fight for him had he lost. But we saw it only going one way, and it went the opposite. Then he comes out, he fights Josh Emmett. Again, close fight. I don't think he really took a lot of damage there. And I think he's had enough time in between fights to really sustain and to get healthy and to heal up and then train properly. I think when you're fighting top-level competition, consistent 5-round main events, win or lose, if you're not getting finished, again, depending on the amount of damage you're taking, I think that always holds a level of experience. Because with Arnold Allen, I don't know where his gas tank is in round 4 and 5. When you have so much success so early in your career and you haven't overcome adversity, we don't know how he's going to respond back. What if Calvin Kattar drops him in round 2? What if he takes him down and holds him down there? There's a lot of question marks on Arnold Allen still. I think he could be a future top guy. I just think this is a little too soon for him to be a favorite. For that reason, I see the underdog value in Calvin Kattar, and I'm going to go there.
Yeah, it is a great point. I don't know how you can try... I don't know how you can love Calvin Kattar as a favorite when, you do have some question marks. Maybe he does show that he's got a lot of fight IQ and the experience doesn't matter and he looks great in rounds 4 and 5. But to take him as a favorite in his first main event when he's going against a guy who has so much experience in those 4th and 5th rounds, it's a little bit of a stretch. You see the odds for method of victory here. You said you're going to take Calvin Kattar. Do you like any of these method of victories, or do you like, potentially even the over, but maybe this fight to go decision? Because as we've said, Calvin Kattar has a knack for extending these fights and taking them the full distance.
I will say this. You bring up a good point with the over there. You kind of got my ears perking up. If you could find an over 3.5 or an over 4.5, pay a little bit more juice, I think it's worth it. I think this fight definitely starts round 5. I saw that line out there. And I do think this goes to a decision. If you feel the need that plus 100 or minus 105 for Kattar or wherever he ends up being is not enough for you and you want to go method, I think he wins this one by decision. I don't see either guy finishing the other. Both have shown solid durability. But I still like Kattar at that plus 100 number. But, Brett, again, to your point, by decision, either guy, if you're going to bet, to me, makes a lot of sense.
Wait. both guys have shown solid durability. Calvin Kattar has shown otherworldly durability in that Max Holloway fight. That was one of the most insane things I've ever witnessed inside a UFC octagon. I'm going to remember that for a very, very long time. Let's move to the co-main event, a welterweight matchup between Tim Means and Max Griffin. Tim Means, man, I mean, the man is 38 years old. He made his debut in 2012. This is going to be his 26th UFC fight. He's 6th most in UFC welterweight history with 1,063 significant strikes. I have to admit, Ian, I thought that Max Griffin was a little younger. He is 36. He is not far behind Tim Means at 38. Also been in the UFC for now 6 years. His UFC debut was in 2016. He is the favorite here at -175. You look at Tim Means. Yeah, he's lost some fights, but I do go back and I look at who he's lost to. It's been Kevin Holland. It's been Daniel Rodriguez. It's been Nico Price. Bilal Muhammad was in there. I mean, when this guy loses, it is too good competition. What do you think of him as +150 coming against Max Griffin?
You know what? Look, Tim Means is a guy who's extremely tough, well-rounded, sometimes doesn't fight the smartest, and when he has to come from behind, it doesn't really, he doesn't get there. You know, he can be held down, he tends to tire out a little bit, but he is always dangerous, and you can't ever let up on him during a fight. I think in this fight against someone in Griffin, you know, sometimes we look at fights and we say, even though the guy lost, the stock rose. You know, with Sean O'Malley this past weekend, had he lost before the decision, you saw people say his stock's going up no matter what. For me, that's Max Griffin when he lost that split decision in Neil Magny, and the loss he had prior to that was also a split that maybe people thought he won. I think Griffin is starting to find his rhythm. His striking has been there. The cardio has gotten so much better. He's learned how to balance the striking to set up the wrestling without getting tired, and I think the athleticism should be the deciding factor. I like Max Griffin in this fight. I don't mind that number -175 here at all. You know, as long as he doesn't get in a firefight and get caught early, he can control it. He's a smart fighter. Let's go Griffin here as the favorite.
All right, sounds pretty confident there in -175 for Max Griffin. Let's move to heavyweight. Waldo Cortez taking on Jared Banderas. And Ian, I mean, I brought this up nicely last time. I thought I was pretty polite about it. Jared Banderas on the main card, when he's lost 4 in a row, he's 1-5 in the UFC. I mean, I'm not trying to attack our buddy Jared Banderas, but who do I got to talk to here about this? I mean, Jared Banderas with these heavyweight fights on the main card, you got to be able to give me something else on the main card, right? Jared Banderas, 1-5 in the UFC, as I mentioned, 12-9 overall. He's coming in at only a +175 underdog, though. Not a massive underdog to Waldo Cortez, who we have not seen a whole lot of yet in the UFC. He's coming off the Contender Series in August. What do we think about Waldo Cortez and possibly taking him at -210?
I am going to take Waldo Cortez here, but I really like the under instead. You know, Jared Banderas has shown some spots. You listen, he had Alexei Olnik on skates, but then he chose some poor fight IQ, went to the ground with someone you just don't go to the ground with. We saw Cortez Acosta on the Contender Series. You know, there's a thing on MMA Twitter that says the old Contender Series fade, where you take the guy fighting the veteran. Here, I don't see that being the case. Banderas, 1-5. I think it's time that we say goodbye to Jared after this fight. I do like Waldo here. He's pretty well-rounded, very solid finishing rate, carries a ton of power, speed, everything. You know, unless Banderas surprises us and puts him on his back, I just don't see it happening. Let's go with the Contender Series, making his debut here. I think he gets it done. Let's also take it maybe inside the distance. And at -210, I don't mind it here. I just don't see how he loses to Banderas.
All right, we'll go with the Salsa Boy there at -210 against Banderas, making his 7th appearance in the UFC. Let's move to the middleweight division, Tresean Gore versus Josh Fremd. And Tresean, a guy that, you know, I think despite his inexperience, had a little bit of believers coming off of The Ultimate Fighter. It has not worked out for him so far. He's dropped 2 in a row. His last one, he dropped to Cody Brummage as a -150 favorite. I think he was actually one of our best bets, Ian. So he underperformed in his last fight against Josh Fremd, who fights out of Pittsburgh. He was involved in that weird situation at UFC 273, came in on short notice, lost to Anthony Hernandez. Now coming back here as a favorite, -160. What do we think about this middleweight fight?
This one is an interesting fight because you speak about Tresean Gore, very inexperienced, but had a lot of potential in The Ultimate Fighter. People thought he would have won, how he didn't get injured. Then he came and he fought Brian Battle, and you know, in the 3rd round, he just had nothing. He's got power. We know he's got that one-punch knockout. He's got the athleticism, but the fight IQ is just not there. The cardio's not there against Cody Brundage. He seemed to be starting to kind of winning the end of the round until he got dropped. He just wasn't fighting smart. I think this kind of shows how green he still really is. I feel like this fight, he is fighting someone in Fremd who came in on short notice and had a really fun fight against Anthony Hernandez, who was proving that is a serious fighter in his own right. He had some really good spots there. He had Hernandez in trouble earlier on in the fight. That was quite surprising. I like Fremd here a lot. I just, if he stays away from that one-punch power of Gore, he could take this fight to the floor. He could neutralize the power of Gore there. And if he keeps the fight standing, it's just got to be about volume with the striking, because we know Gore just stands there and waits. And if he's going to wait, Fremd's going to bring the fight to him. And I think that's how he wins. We're going to go with Fremd here. I think he gets his first win in the UFC in this one.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one because you're getting Gore at about the lowest value you could possibly get just because of the way his last two fights have gone. So from a value perspective, you never want to be, taking Josh Fremd when you know that you're paying the ultimate price for him. But of course, he's going to be the favorite here. He did look good against Anthony Hernandez, even in defeat. So we'll see how that fight goes at 185. All right, let's move to 205 to wrap up this main card on ESPN Plus. You got Dustin Jacoby taking on Khalil Roundtree. Jacoby has not lost in his last 7 appearances. He's got 1 draw mixed in there. He is the favorite, minus 175 against Khalil Roundtree, who has looked good as of late. He's coming off back-to-back finishes. What do you think of this pretty close light heavyweight contest?
I'm excited for this fight. You have 2 guys that are going to stand, and they are going to trade, and they are going to kickbox. Someone in Khalil Roundtree, he's been around for a while, Ultimate Fighter, up and down career, emotional guy, but he seemed to have turned it around that last fight with Carl Roberson. I mean, he just brought the definition of violence, was kicking from every angle possible. I mean, he made someone in Carl Roberson just wish, I don't want to be there. And I don't think anyone would have wanted to fight Khalil Roundtree in that fight. However, and I'm saying however in a big way here, Dustin Jacoby has shown us since his return to the UFC that he just keeps getting better. I think between the two, he is the better kickboxer. He may not be the stronger of the two, the more powerful of the two, but he carries power in his own right. We saw in his last fight where he got that KO. He needed that to really get the confidence going. He doesn't make many mistakes. He knows where he's good at. He is a very solid athlete. He can take this fight to the floor if need be in order to mix it up. And this is a scary one here because we know how powerful Roundtree could be, but we've seen Khalil also at times sit on his back foot. When the striking doesn't go his way early, get very confused. He hesitates. And against Jacoby, once Jacoby gets going and becomes that mastermind with the fight IQ, a lot of guys are going to struggle here. For me, this is Dustin Jacoby in this fight, and I think this is going to be one of the last times you see Jacoby get this number under minus 200 against guys in the 15 to 20 rank in the division.
Yeah, completely agree, especially what you said about Roundtree. He is an emotional guy, but he does seem to be in a good place. Like I said, he's coming off back-to-back wins as an underdog. So he's got a little bit of momentum going on with him, but Jacoby, more ways to win. That's why you're seeing him as a minus 175. Okay, let's move to the prelims. We're going to look at a featured prelim, and it features Phil Hawes in the middleweight division taking on Roman Dolidze. Hawes, not surprising, minus 170 favorite. What do you think of this middleweight fight?
You know what? Very interesting fight. Had you asked me prior to Roman beating Dawkins, I would have had a different breakdown. But you got 2 guys here, primarily grapplers, who like to stand and bang a little bit. And we saw Hawes against Duran win. Very hard fight to watch. Kudos to Win for being that tough. Phil Hawes is a top-level prospect if the cardio is there and he doesn't hang his chin out, because he's got great striking. He's a good boxer, carries a ton of power. Not too many guys are better wrestlers than him. And someone in Roman Dolidze has good striking, but he's known for getting the fight to the floor and being a leg lock guy. Against Dawkins, he landed a devastating knee that changed the whole dynamic of the fight. I don't know if that happens here. I don't see a lot of guys at that ranking beating Phil Hawes. If Hawes can just not be reckless, be composed, I think he gets it done here, and I think that's what's going to happen. I want to see Hawes step that game up. I want to see him get a little bit more defensive-minded, better head movement, because if he's able to do that and save energy and have cardio, he's going to be a very dangerous guy in this division.
Yeah, we've been saying that about him for a while. When you say he's just got to avoid being reckless, unfortunately, Phil Hawes has a tendency to be reckless, but maybe he'll be that late bloomer and still make a run in this middleweight division. Okay, we're going to go through the prelims, and guys, I hope you're paying very close attention to these prelim picks. We burned through them pretty quickly, but again, Ian was 7-0 on these guys last weekend, so there's an opportunity to make some money on the prelims. Take it away, Ian.
No pressure, right? All right. Hawes at minus 170. I got to roll here with him. I don't trust Roman's lack of volume just yet. Arlovsky, Lima. People are going to laugh and say, oh my God, Arlovsky, you're not taking a decision. In this one, I'm not. I like the plus money, and I think the Lima's got the power to put him away. Holmes and Park, over 2.5. Chase Hooper, Steve Garcia. You know what? I don't see Garcia getting knocked out here. He keeps the fight standing. He can test Chase's stand-up, over 1.5 there. Carlos Mota, the LFA champ, is taking this fight against Cody Durden on short notice. Mota is a very good prospect. Keep an eye out for him. I like him here. And Christian Rodriguez, minus 380. Weems is taking this on short notice. We're going to throw Rodriguez, a little spoiler, into the parlay, and that's going to be the prelim picks.
Never thought I'd see the day we take an under on an Andre Arlovsky fight, but I guess there's a day for everything. Let's move on to Parker's parlay, which you just mentioned, Ian.
Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen, we discussed this earlier. If you didn't catch it before in the breakdown, either one of these guys, whoever wins, I think this fight goes to a decision. So in a parlay at only minus 360, let's get that to start round 3. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, I believe he gets it done against Andre Arlovsky. So if you don't hit the under there, put him in the parlay, get some better odds on that one. Park over Holmes, I don't see where Holmes wins. We know what Park does, take this fight to the floor, control. And Rodriguez, we'll take advantage of minus 365, try and get some value somewhere at plus 231. That's going to be our parlay for this week.
All right, plus 231 on the parlay this weekend. Let's get to the best bets, which we were perfect on last weekend.
All right, so look, and I'm glad you pointed this out. Sometimes we go with chalk, and when we find value, we take it. Calvin Kattar at plus 100 even money. I'm going with the veteran who's had the more experience, who's had the 5-round fights, and I just don't know where Arnold Allen is actually better than him yet. I'm going Kattar there. Max Griffin, I think he's better everywhere. I think he's coming into his own. You talked about his age 36. To me, that shows maturity, and his game lately has shown that. Let's go Griffin. Josh Fremd, I'm fading Trajan Gore here. I liked what I saw in a Fremd against Anthony Hernandez. I think we're learning about Hernandez a lot. To me, that shows a lot in Fremd. Let's go him at minus 160. Dustin Jacoby, this is going to be a fun kickboxing fight. I think the fight IQ gets it done there. And last but not least, this is, I think, the third or fourth time we're rolling with Phil Hawes. I'm going to go with him here. I believe in the blue chip prospect, and I'm hoping with that wrestling discipline, the sense is getting knocked into him a little bit with the cardio, going to be a little bit more reserved, and that's going to be our best bets for the week.
All right, a lot of best bet action on that main card, and then the featured prelim rounds us out for 5 picks for the week. All right, so we've talked about the best bets, we've talked about the parlay. Let's get to arguably the most fun part of this show. What are we doing with the long shot parlay this week, Ian?
You know, it's funny, last week the long shot was only plus 6 and change, and it did not do well at all. This one, we're back to that plus 39.29 number. Cortez Acosta Bandera under 1.5 rounds. Jacoby Roundtree to go the distance. Arlovsky, Rogerio de Lima under 2.5. And I'm going to take a shot. I like Chase Hooper. I do think he's a good fighter. I like him as a person, but hey, for the long shot, plus 245 when Garcia is probably the better striker here. I'm going to take a shot there. 4-way parlay at almost 4-1. Let's go. 40-1, let's go.
I was going to say 4-1. It's 40-1, kid. And the reason that it didn't do well last week is because we weren't even interested in 6-1. That's not even a long shot parlay. We are back to 40-1 this weekend. This is the one that we want to hit, and hopefully we do so this weekend. Guys, I hope you had fun listening to the breakdowns. Great job as always, Ian. I hope that you are getting on these picks. You're making some money with us, and enjoy the fights. UFC Fight Night this Saturday. It's going to be a heck of a card and a heck of a main event, man. And do not sleep on this main event. I love this main event. Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen. We'll be back to talk about it and preview some more picks next week. We'll see you then.